Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Welcome, folks. Happy Friday. If my smile seems a little bit extra smiley right now, it's because it's one thing to be greeted by my loving, adoring fans. It's another thing to be greeted by the trifling trolls on Twitter. It's funny. I laugh because their comments are meant to be so, but they're really just like, wah, wah. Anyway, also, I noticed that when I start my intro music, like I get hype. I should remember that the next time I'm in a bad mood. I should just play that intro music. Gets me hype. I'm here like seat dancing. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, welcome. Let's see. I saw we had some new guests. Let's see. Zelda, of course, at the top there. Welcome, Zelda. Bernadette H. Foxhill Dreams. Ness from Connecticut. Kenna is here with us. Thomas Aglione says, Texas Paul sent me here. Welcome, Thomas. Thank you for joining us. I was with Texas Paul this morning. We will cover that a little bit. Let's see. Claudia is here. Diane London. Brad Zoke. I just want to say to Brad, thank you for your service. Brad is a disabled vet, so thank you for your service, sir. Where am I? Did I say Bernadette H? Bernadette CJ is here. Here's one. I'm just not making a habit of this, but commie. Who are these people? Commie. This is like right out of 1970s Archie Bunker. Commie. You're missing Pinko. If you really want to get it right, say Pinko. Pinko Commie or Commie Pinko. The ABX girl, Philosophy is here. Valerie G. Nerdy Nerdleton is here. Meredith Powell. Cindy C. Claudia Chase. Stephanie L. from Florida. Samantha Hawkins. Stella Baxter. Cheryl Dumas says, I am so ready for this election to be over. So sick of the crazy. Indeed. Thank you for that. And thank you, everyone, for chiming in here. I'm going to get into what I'm going to get into. But first, let's do what I like to call the stories of the day.
Stories of the day.
Yes. Fascist. Fascist. That's the title of today's show. Fascist. It's the F word. And you would think that it's the new F word, the way some news outlets had been reacting to Kamala Harris agreeing. Anderson Cooper, during the CNN town hall, had asked her, he said, do you agree with the assessment by General John Kelly that Donald Trump is a fascist? And she said, yes. What's the big deal? He is. If it walks like a fascist and it talks like a fascist and it looks like a fascist and sounds like a fascist, well, guess what? It's a fascist. So I'm showing you this because I went through several different iterations of my title graphic for today's episode. And this was the one that I just showed you. This is the one I ended up going with. It looked the most fascist-y. But then prior to that, I was like, yeah, let's see. Well, he did that thing in DC when he wanted to do a photo op at the church, and he had protesters shot with rubber bullets and tear gas. So that's kind of fascist-y. Yeah. And then prior to that, originally I was going in a completely different direction because apparently today, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are in Texas. Kamala Harris is there. They both have different goals, right? Kamala Harris, in my opinion, and as from what I'm hearing, is not under any delusions. She does not believe that she can win Texas. Maybe no, she doesn't believe that, but she does believe that since Texas is the state where the abortion bans are the most extreme, the most egregious, it is a perfect place to spread her message and start making her final argument. And I think she is going to be making her final case to the American public next week. I believe it's on Tuesday in Washington, D.C. But yeah, so I ended up not going with this. Also, it says at the bottom here, also the Bigliest Loser live reading, because I will be doing a live reading of the Bigliest Loser. Okay, so as I alluded to earlier, the big revelation this week was that General John Kelly goes on the record, and not just like his printed word, you can hear audio tapes of him uh, basically saying that Donald Trump is a fascist, and other things were learned, which normally would be toxic, would be nuclear waste to anyone else's campaign. But, I guess that's all part and parcel of his candidacy. He is like the toxic candidate. So it's not for the people who believe in him, the people that follow him, it's not a bug, it is a feature. The Washington Post. The Washington Post has announced today that it's going to break with decades of tradition in not endorsing a candidate in the 2024 election. And this is atrocious. We'll get into that later. Last but not least, we are going to be covering the fact that Kamala Harris is going to be in at a rally in Houston tonight, which will be attended by none other than On the Road Again. Sir Willie is going to be there, and Beyonce. I don't know why. Why is my phone ringing? It's a scam likely. The dreaded scam likely. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be reading The Bigliest Loser, a few pages from that awesome, excellent book. Before I go any further, please remember to hit the like and the subscribe button. And also remember that a vote for Trump is a vote for fascism, it's a vote for chaos, it's a vote for treason. So do not vote for Trump. This past Tuesday, there was a special event that happened, that took place, that I was a part of, with JoJo from Jers and Tristan Snell, the famous attorney who was successful. He was the first person who was successful in defeating Donald Trump in court. This was for the Trump University scam. And so this past Tuesday was featured. The three of us were featured along with some major names. Martina Navratilova was there, Anthony Scaramucci, Stephanie Miller, of course, Glenn Kirshner, Brian Tyler Cohen, Lauren Windsor, and of course, Allison Gill, aka Mueller, She Wrote. And here is just a screenshot or a picture I took with Martina Navratilova there. I was a little starstruck there. She is really cool. She's a great person, because she does not have to be involved in this effort. She doesn't have to be involved in what it is that we're fighting for, what we're achieving. She's rich. She's, she has a nice life set aside for her. She will survive. I believe most of the wealthy and famous people will survive whoever is in office. So when they go that extra yard to say, look, this is what I believe is right. I think that's a great thing, that they're using their platform because they know people are going to tell them, shut up and dribble, shut up and play tennis or whatever. So the fact that they step out there and use their platform for good, I think is a positive thing. And as I mentioned earlier, our friend Thomas, is it Thomas Aquilino? Thomas said that Texas Paul had sent him here. And I just want to say, Texas Paul is one of the nicest and one of the smartest guys on Twitter, on the interwebs, whatever. He's really super duper smart and really, really nice. And talk about an intro. That brother has a great intro. I highly suggest you check out his show. It's Coffee with Texas Paul. Excuse me. And as you can see, he is proudly holding in his hands there a copy of The Bigliest Loser. And oh, thank you, Stephanie. Sorry, I have to go back there. It's a great question. Let me just go back for a second here. Stephanie L wants to know, how long is the fundraiser going on for? Well, thank you for the reminder. This coming Tuesday, the 29th, uh, there is going to be yet another episode. We were able to raise 115 or $120,000 in just that very short period of time. We were on from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. So that's huge. It's humongous. And there will be another episode this Tuesday. I cannot tell you which guest will be joining us because honestly, I don't know. But we will be doing it the same time, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I think that answers the question you had for me, Stephanie L. Thank you very much for that. Let's go back to Texas Paul, the Bigliest Loser. So Paul received, I sent him a copy of this book last week, and he received it, and he's been having a ball looking for some hidden Easter eggs. I told him, and I guess I could tell you guys too. Um, you guys remember the inauguration, President Biden's inauguration back in January 2021? Back then there was a meme that arose when Bernie Sanders was spotted sitting with his arms folded and legs crossed, wearing mittens, and the internet went crazy. They went ape shit. So they started memeing him all over the place. So, as such, Bernie is in this book. He is in The Littlest President in three different spots. So make sure you get your copy, and then we can compare notes and discuss on the show. Oh, by the way, I also wanted to point out that I recently had these bookmarks printed. They are double sided. You have one image on that side and then a different image on the other side. So going forward, I will be sending a bookmark with each book, whether it's a hardcover or paperback. Yeah. Let's see. Da. And yesterday I went on with this gentleman, Brian. Oh my God, I cannot remember his last name, from Occupy Democrats. And wait, I have his name. I feel like it's Sullivan. That's not his name, is it? No, it's Brian Shapiro. It's Brian Shapiro on the Pushing the Limits broadcast. And I do have a clip. Just bear with me here. Wait. Here it is. Share screen. here.
If
Sure.
somebody went up to you 10 years ago and said you would have almost 1.5 million followers on Twitter, which is astounding, but there's a reason for that. You're great at what you do. Like I said, you're one of my favorite follows on social media. But if someone told you that you would have this voice and you would be as popular as you are today, and if they asked you, 10 years ago, would you have believed it?
No, it's kind of it is kind of crazy. It was a fluke that I even joined Twitter. I was complaining to one of my friends that about some device I had. It was like a Samsung phone. He's like, "Oh, you should go on Twitter and then you should tweet at that company. Might have been Samsung, and then they'll respond to you." And so that's what I did. And I got mixed results doing that, but I was tweeting like once a week, once every other week, not on a regular basis. When Donald Trump was awarded the nomination from the Republican Party to be president, something clicked in my brain. I was like, what the F is going on? And I went from tweeting once every other week to like tweeting 5 or 6 times a day, and then like 10 or 12 times a day. And I was mad. I was mad as heck. And I let people know it. And there was nothing fancy about my tweets, mind you. I remember looking at other people's tweets and envying them and saying, wow, these people are so creative, how they like word their stuff. But it's, at the end of the day, folks, it's your own voice. That's what matters. You find your own voice and you put it out there. And you're not doing this to gain followers, but to gain community. And that's what happened. I found people, like-minded people who we were all on the same mission. We're all walking down the same road together, and you help each other out. And before you know it, I don't know how it's working now because Elon really has messed. Okay. I didn't want to mess up the rest. I didn't want to mess up the vibe that I achieved when I started talking about that community. I'm talking about you guys in particular. Those of you, you know who you are. Those of you who have stuck with me this whole entire time. Starship Mate saying the band origin story. Yes, and Cindy, yes, we are. You are my peeps. Absolutely, everybody here. You know who you are. And oh my goodness, while I was not looking, my friend Zelda, thank you so much. Thank you so kindly, Zelda, for the generous donation to the show. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, and I meant that when I said to Brian Shapiro, whose show is from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, and it's a call-in show, so you can actually call in and make comments and stuff. The guy's a great, great host, very professional. Yeah, on Twitter, you try to link up with people. This is how you make your experience more uh, more satisfying. I guess that's the word. And again, I don't know how drastically that's changed since Elon has been messing with the algorithm and making it harder for us to find each other. But when you do find your community, and you will, um, that's what it's all about there. And it's one of those things that you have to see it to know what I'm talking about. And when you pop into a discussion room, a DM group, and you see folks talking to each other, and I'm so proud of that too. I see people sharing pictures of the grandkids and their nephews, and they're talking about this one's graduation and this one's wedding. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So we were all kind of drawn to Twitter to kind of fight against Trump and the threat of Trumpism, but we stayed together. We stayed on Twitter for each other, I think, and that's a beautiful thing. Excuse me. So let us continue. Where was I? Okay. Let's get back to the nitty gritty. This stuff here. Let's talk about polls. It's my least favorite thing to talk about because polls really, really do not tell you much. And in fact, depending on what poll you're looking at, it's going to tell you wildly different results. The average polls are saying that this is tied, that the race is tied. And we're seeing that across the board. There are no serious polls. When I say serious, there are no polls that have any, even a whiff of legitimacy that that are putting this more than 3 points one way or the other. And 3 points is the margin of error. So if you're thinking that we're ahead 3 points or we're behind 3 points, whatever you need to get your ass to the polls on November 5th or earlier if you're going to vote early. In Georgia, I just saw that 2 million people have already voted early in Georgia. That's phenomenal. And in fact, most every location where early voting is going on, they are breaking records. So this is an astounding election. My heart tells me that the majority, and again, I don't know if it's like a big majority or a slim majority. Let's say, for argument's sake, it's a slim majority. The slim majority of votes are being galvanized because by the overturning of Dobbs. I think people are undercounting how severe that is. It's the Supreme Court and the government saying we can legislate what women do with their bodies. And I think there has to be a stiff, sound repudiation of that. And the only way to repudiate it soundly is at the ballot box. That's it. So, there are people who are Republicans who are saying, you know what? I don't normally vote. In fact, I don't think I've ever voted for a Democrat, but this time I think I am going to vote for Kamala Harris. And that's a trend. There's like Republican farmers, for Kamala Harris. It's like a very serious trend. And as far as I know, Donald Trump has been bleeding supporters, people who did vote for him in 2016 and 2020, who are saying, nope, no more. And their reasons for not voting for him are range from a variety of reasons. From they don't like his demeanor, they don't like the things that he's saying, they don't like the things that he's doing, they don't like all the crimes he's committed. Have at it. And there's been even more reason to every week that goes by, there's like he is introducing more evidence to the record, to the docket. More and more evidence is being submitted by the defendant, Donald Trump, every single week. And it's, boy. Let me read this. This is a comment from Twitter here. Excuse me. Elise Brandt writes, I don't think MAGAs understand what a dictator is. A fascist is a way of organizing a society in which a government is ruled by a dictator, controls the lives of the people, and in which people are not allowed to disagree with the government or Project 2025. I think that's a pretty good, I would say that's a pretty good description. And Kristen Thompson here is saying, but he is gaining young men snagged by broadcasts. This is true, actually. And I believe today, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe today Donald Trump is supposed to be going on the Joe Rogan show, which, that's a very low bar for him to clear. He's not in any danger of being fact checked because, if you're familiar with the Joe Rogan show, he deals in conspiracy theories. So that's right up Trump's alley, so, Trump is going to be talking about this conspiracy theory, that conspiracy theory, the Haitians and the Congo and geese and dogs and cats and all kinds of things. And Joe's going to be like, really? Wow. Can't believe it. Wow, this is amazing. That sort of thing. Very low risk. Those are the only appearances that that Donald Trump is making right now. They're very, very low risk appearances where there's no chance of him sticking his foot in his mouth or in his ass. Today was a historic moment where our current president, President Biden, had a news conference in which he issued an apology, an official apology for the United States involvement in Indian boarding schools. What was happening was way, way back, I think it was like 150 years ago, Native American children were being forced to attend boarding schools where they were forced to be indoctrinated, to assimilate with American ways. And if they did not assimilate, they'd be beaten brutally. And in a lot of instances, these children were killed. And it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Holy shit. I did not know this. I cannot independently verify this, but Kristen Thompson is saying until the 1970s, if that is true, that is horrendous. Horrendous. Whew, boy. And again, President Biden is a very special, very consequential president. The fact that I don't think I've ever seen a president. Correct. Again, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm very happy to be fact checked here. I don't think we've seen another president issue a blanket apology for actions that the United States was complicit in. I could be wrong. I don't know. Was it somebody apologized for the Armenian genocides, or I don't even know if that was done? But yeah, I'm very happy to be fact checked. Kristen is saying it is a first. Okay, and someone on Twitter is saying calling BS there. Whatever. Okay, so let's move forward to the CNN town hall that took place the other night. So it was a town hall because Donald Trump did refuse. I should rephrase that. Kamala Harris was there by herself without Donald Trump because Donald Trump did refuse to attend this thing. Donald Trump has refused to do anything with Kamala Harris since she did beat his ass, and beat his ass she did. Boy, let me tell you, I've never seen anybody so thoroughly eviscerated as Kamala Harris did then. She told him to his face that he's a disgrace. She often gave him the opportunity to spew nonsense and just to appear extremely unhinged and bent out of shape. So yeah, she cleaned his clock from the very moment she set foot on that stage. She crossed the entire distance of the stage to shake his hand because he wasn't even going to do that. She took his hand. She said, looked him in the eye and said, "Let's have a good debate." And he's like, "Oh." And then he couldn't even look her in the eye. So yeah, she completely emasculated him. And so now he won't be seen within 50 yards of her. So the town hall was hosted by CNN, and Anderson Cooper was the facilitator. And I got to say, some of you already know, I have a history with Anderson Cooper. I did attend school with him back in the 80s. When I first got to, it was the Dalton School. And when I first got there, he was my assigned big brother. He was like the guy to show me around and show me what's what, and introduce me to some people, and just make sure I didn't get lost in the sauce and fall through the cracks. And he was a very nice guy back then. I will say that. I can't say bad things about him personally, but professionally, I'm not thrilled with the job he's been doing on CNN. I'm not impressed by it. And there have been times when I've been impressed. Not recently, no. Um, Overall, I thought he was fine. He wasn't as bad as Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, you know. But I thought that I got the distinct feeling that the people in the audience, first of all, were instructed to not applaud at all. I'd never seen anything like this. Like usually when they cut for the commercial, the audience will, give some light smattering of applause. But in this instance, like they didn't applaud at all. It felt very strange. Um, like why have an audience there if they're not going to make their presence known, with even some light, chuckle or whatever. Not even that. One guy who appeared to be a Trump supporter, he started to smile and then he checked himself. He was like, oh, very strange. And Anderson really was fact checking her on the fracking thing, like he went overboard. If the same thing was done to Donald Trump would have gotten up and left. He would have just left. I've never seen Donald Trump fact check 4 times on one point. And after the town hall, Van Jones lost me years ago when he made that infamous statement. Tonight was the night Donald Trump became president. After that, I didn't want to hear anything else this brother had to say. But this night, he said something that I found was remarkable. I was actually shocked that he said this, and he said that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are not taking the same exam. In fact, let me pull that up here real quick. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are not taking the same exam. He gets to be lawless. She has to be flawless.
Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are not taking the same exam. Yeah. And I think it bothers people. They're not taking the same exam. He gets to be lawless. She has to be flawless. That's what's unfair. That's what's unfair. That's what's unfair tonight. That's what's unfair tonight. They're not taking the same exam. Look, she has policies. She may not articulate them perfectly every time. She may not put the stories in the right places, but she's fighting for actual ideas that will help real people. And he's talking about people's penises. And so they're not taking the same exam, and that's pissing people off. Pissing me off.
100%, Van. 100%. I'm not going to take back everything I've said about the brother, but he was definitely on point there. And he's right. These two candidates are not being treated the same. You have one who frequently breaks off into very weird topics, like he mentioned the Arnold Palmer's genitalia comment, and that's just one out of a whole range of stupid things that he's discussed, and he's not really held to account to. His policy details are thin to none. What is he talking about? He's talking about tariffs. Somebody please ask that buffoon, what is a tariff? What does a tariff do? Because he doesn't understand that these foreign countries do not pay the tariffs. He doesn't understand that. And nobody seems to be fact checking him the way, Anderson Cooper was like, getting down in the nitty gritty on fracking. come back at him about when he starts going off on a tangent about these tariffs and it's good. I don't know, maybe it'll be 50%, 60%, maybe it'll be 200%, 2000%. And he just gets away with that. If Kamala Harris did some shit like that, it would be freaking Armageddon. And that's the point. Kamala Harris has to walk just a toe the impossibly straight line. And she brings details. She brings details about her policies. The policy I like the most, frankly, is the Medicare doing the Medicare for in-home care, Medicare paying for that long term without making you have to go broke. Because apparently, if you want Medicare to pay for in-home care, you either have to be like dying and you have to like be destitute. You have to have no money or like nothing above $2,000 or something like that. Yeah. And sometimes people have to quit their jobs in order to care for their parents. And it's horrendous. So what she's talking about doing is life-changing. She also wants to build more houses. You build more houses, you create more of an inventory and you immediately bring down the cost of housing. Bada bing, bada boom. It's common sense. Anti-price gouging. I like it. Let's stop companies from jacking up the prices where they don't have to. I understood when we were in the COVID shutdown and the supply chain broke, companies were jacking up their prices because now things become more valuable and it just becomes more costly to get the products to you. But our supply chain is fine now. There's no reason for you to still be making 1,000% profit. And that's what these companies have been getting away with. Greedflation. So, yeah, she talks about that. She talks about $6,000 for young couples, young families just getting started off with their first child. The tax breaks for small businesses, jacking that up from $5,000 to $50,000. Small business. When's the last time you heard Democrats talking about supporting small businesses? She's accomplished a great deal in an enormously short period of time. 3 months. Donald Trump has been running for office since he left office. He's been running for re-election since after he left the White House in disgrace in January of 2021. Been running for re-election that whole time. She raised $1 billion. She's assembled a coalition that includes Republicans, that includes generals, it includes people from Trump's administration, previous. It includes people from rural areas, people from urban areas. It includes evangelicals. The whole shitload of people that she's pulled together. And Donald Trump, of course, has his bros. So I forget what the hell I was on about. Oh, I was talking about how Kamala Harris is being judged on a much harsher curve than Donald Trump. All he has to do is not shit in his hand and smear it on his face, and he gets a pass. If Kamala Harris speaks out of syntax or whatever, if she, it's frustrating as hell. But I'm going to stay hopeful. I'm staying hopeful. Let's briefly cover this fucking shit right now. I don't have the patience for it. Excuse me. The Washington Post has made a decision that they are not going to endorse a presidential candidate this year. We are deeply concerned. This is the Washington Post Guild, a statement from them. We are deeply concerned that the Washington Post, an American news institution in the nation's capital, would make the decision to no longer endorse presidential candidates, especially a mere 11 days ahead of an immensely consequential election. The role of an editorial board is to do just this, to share opinions on the news impacting our society and culture and endorse candidates to help guide readers. The message from our chief executive, Will Lewis, not from the editorial board itself, makes us concerned that management interfered with the work of our members in editorial. According to our own reporters and guild members, an endorsement for Harris was already drafted, and the decision to not publish was made by the Post's owner, Jeff Bezos. We are already seeing cancellations from once loyal readers. This decision undercuts the work of our members at a time when we should be building our readers' trust, not losing it. Amen. That is a perfect, absolutely perfect statement. There's nothing I can add to that. If I hadn't already, I had already previously canceled my subscription to the Washington Post, and it had more to do with the cost. This was probably like a month or two ago. It was the cost. I just couldn't afford to keep my subscription going. But if I hadn't already canceled it, I would have canceled it today. So that was a fantastic statement made by the Guild, and I've seen a lot of people saying that they've canceled. I've heard that there are going to be some resignations as a result of the owner of Jeff Bezos's decision to not endorse in such a critical election. It's disgusting, because what is the role of our media? One of the jobs is supposed to be as the gatekeeper of truth. It's their job not to report when somebody says the sky is blue and another person says the sky is orange. It's not their job to report both to report both statements and give them equal credence. Their job is to look out the fucking window and tell us and confirm what color the goddamn sky is. Their job is that when we are facing an existential threat from a fascist, their job is to sound the goddamn alarm and say, this is not a drill. The Los Angeles Times has also done the same thing. And mysteriously enough, it was their owner's decision. The Los Angeles Times already had a statement draft, an endorsement drafted. And their owner stepped in and said, nope, nope, nope. It's bizarre. It's bizarre as hell. This week, we found out that Donald Trump wished he had the kind of generals that Hitler had. This is interesting. This is interesting on several levels. It's interesting on one level because, well, if memory serves correctly, Hitler's generals at the end of that war, they had to surrender because they lost. And those are the generals that were not trying to kill Hitler. There were generals who tried to assassinate Hitler. So which ones are you referring to? The losers or the failed assassin? The failed assassins? Which ones did you want, Spanky? It's insane. So yeah, Donald Trump's words were overheard by former staffers, and they were all corroborated. And then General John Kelly is a guy who this was very difficult for him to step forward, because he's a military guy, and these military guys consider it, I don't know, gauche. They it's not something that they do. They're not political by nature. They're not political. So it's a big deal for one of them to step forward and say, yeah, he can't serve. He cannot serve. He can't be in that office again. He's a threat. It's a very big deal. It's a very big deal for him to make the statements he has made about Donald Trump and to call him a fascist. It's a big deal. And so this is the sort of thing that our media, and I would say not just our print media like the New York Times and the Washington Post and the LA Times and any other publication of stature, but also our cable news stations. There are fewer and fewer people who are turning to cable news right now, and this is a little bit frightening, but there is a trend of people turning more to social media to get their news. Social media. I'm talking TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. I think Twitter is probably one of the main sources because often Twitter is like an aggregate of information sources from everywhere. And if you type into that search field something specific, 9 times out of 10, you will, find what you're looking for. Whether or not it's been corroborated is a different story. And that's the problem with social media being a primary source of information. Because if you're not getting your information, and I don't mean to brag, but if you're not getting your information from me, for instance, there's plenty of other people, aside from me, I can name right off the bat, uh, Muller She Wrote is a great source, and she's usually like, she's on it. She's got that information verified. She's one of those people that I trust. When I see it, I know it's beyond question. Um, but a lot of times you'll see information people are passing along misinformation and disinformation. The difference being intent. Misinformation is you're getting wrong information, but it's not maliciously spread. Disinformation is maliciously spread, knowingly spreading bullshit. um Bernadette says she gets her news from Free Speech TV. I know Free Speech TV. That's where Stephanie Miller does her show. Excellent source. Excellent source. Nurse Mitch says she avoids Twitter because she hates Elon. Elon, I don't understand that dude, man, because Elon had a loyal base of supporters within the Democratic Party. I mean, if your EV, your electronic vehicle, your Tesla requires that a majority of people from from one demographic likes you, why would you go out of your way to piss them off and to alienate them? I don't get, because he clearly is doing that. And I guess he's made a bet that he wants to be that little pigeon in Donald Trump's ear. He wants to be whispering things to Trump and get what he wants. And so he is bribing people in the state of Pennsylvania and other swing states. I think he's up until this week, he's been paying $1 million a day. And then the Department of Justice issued a statement saying that we're not 100% sure, but you might be breaking the law there. And we're looking into it. And then all of a sudden the payment stopped. So maybe he knew what the hell he was doing. Or his legal team was like, let's kill this now. It's unnecessary. But he has pumped $75 million. Elon has pumped $75 million into Donald Trump's campaign effort. He is also squishing many of the left-wing voices, the voices on the left. He is suppressing our signal strength at a very crucial time. You want to talk about election interference? That looks and feels a lot like election interference when you control the means of disseminating information, and then you deliberately suppress the output of one side. What do you call that? And then you'll get lots of Trumpers and right wingers say, "Oh, no, you don't like it. Now you know how it feels." Yeah, but look, if you really did believe in free speech, you guys were all trumpeting Elon when he bought Twitter under the pretense of free speech. I'm buying Twitter so that I can restore free speech. And then he goes and just does the exact same thing that you were accusing the previous owner of doing to you guys. Then you don't care about free speech. You just care about me speech. And that's some bullshit. So, anyway, I was saying that General John Kelly has spoken out against Donald Trump, and this should make people sit up and take note, because this sort of thing doesn't happen every day, And in addition to that, you have his own vice president can't endorse him. Half of the members of his cabinet can't endorse him. This means something. They can't all be rhinos, guys. MAGA. They can't all be rhinos. If you're insisting that people like a Dick Cheney is a rhino because he's against your buffoon of a candidate, the guy who has 34, he's a convicted felon, 34 felonies. He's been impeached twice. Trump University was closed for fraud. His foundation was closed for fraud. What are you guys doing? You just literally just got your hands over your ears and your eyes closed, and you're going, la, 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 la. I don't care. You're in a cult. You're in a fucking cult. That's it. Oh, and this news nugget appeared earlier this week. This young woman, Stacey Williams. She was 15, I believe, at the time. The only reason I'm mentioning it is because I did see it on actual, CNN, on MSNBC, on CBS and NBC. So I saw it on the different stations, like they stayed away from the whole Katie Johnson 13-year-old allegations because there was nothing to corroborate it. So if they're sinking their teeth into this, that means there's something there. So yeah, apparently he groped this girl when she was 15, and he likely will not lose any support at all from his base. It might be enough to turn away a few thousand voters from him, and that might be enough. Nobody knows. Yeah, and Jeffrey Epstein was involved in that thing too. In fact, I believe he was there. Epstein watched while Donald Trump, attempted to shove his tongue down her throat. As he said, as he admitted he did on the Access Hollywood tape. He says, sometimes I just start kissing. That's why I carry Tic Tacs. He carries Tic Tacs in case he's going to sexually assault somebody, which he then started chuckling about. Grabbed by the pussy. He's a disgusting person. Anyway, thank God we got to the good part of the show, which is tonight. There is a rally in Houston, Texas, that in which Miss Kamala Harris will be joined by Willie Nelson, and On the Road Again, and by none other than Beyonce Knowles. Um, and this follows yesterday, where President Obama made an appearance alongside oh damn, what's the name of that writer I can't stand? Tyler Perry. Excuse me. It was Tyler Perry, Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, and the boss himself, Bruce Springsteen, who sang some tunes. And this has been an amazing week as far as the star-studded appearances. Eminem introduced President Obama, and then President Obama attempted to do his mom spaghetti rap. Oh, is your boy Ken here? I haven't seen your boy Ken in a minute. Where is my brother? Yeah. Anyway, I want to briefly share with you President Obama's introduction of Kamala last night, because I thought that was it was outstanding. Like, if I'm ever introduced in public by someone, I want to be introduced the way President Obama introduced Kamala Harris.
Real strength is about working hard and taking responsibility and telling the truth, even when it's inconvenient. Real strength is about helping people who need it and standing up for those who can't always stand up for themselves. That's what we should want in our daughters and our sons. And that's what I want to see in the President of the United States of America. And the good news is, we've got a candidate to vote for in this election who demonstrates that kind of character, who knows what real strength looks like, who will set a good example and do the right thing and lead this country better than she found it. That is what this election is about. And that is why it is my honor to introduce my friend, the next President of the United States of America, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Look at it. She got the tan jacket on, the jeans. Look at that. That's great. She had the tan jacket and the jeans working. Beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. I would say this campaign that she's been running has been very smart. Uh, in how they're allocating their resources, how they're spreading out their surrogates, the different districts that they've gone into. I remember in 2016 there was a lot of criticism directed, and maybe it was deserved criticism directed at uh, Hillary Clinton for not having gone to all the places that she could have or should have gone to. It was kind of like, oh man, how you left money on the table? How did you not go to? I think it was Michigan. Michigan might have been one of those places that she could have gone to, but she didn't go to. I think they're leaving no stone unturned. They're going anywhere and everywhere they possibly can go. They're nibbling away at the margins wherever they can nibble. So, we have another 12 days, is it, of like, you know, clenching our butt cheeks and, praying and hoping for the best. That's all we can do at this point. That's all we can do. And if you happen to have handy, if you happen to have a copy of The Bigliest Loser handy, that'll take some stress off you. That'll help you laugh a little bit. I know it's helped me laugh. I was laughing as I was writing and sketching this book. Sketching. As I say every time, it's available on Amazon.com, and it's also available on my website, BrooklynDadDefiant.com, where you can order an autographed copy from yours truly, and you will also get one of these cool bookmarks. Let me just show you again. These bookmarks here, they're two-sided. You got this image on one side. You got the other, the full diaper image on the other side. They're great. This is from the page where he's screaming. They're eating the dogs. I was so happy that I managed to get that in the book as well. All right. Just going to read a few pages from this. Excuse me. Now, where we left off last week, we were on the page where Spanky actually lost the election. And as you can see on the left side, that's Joe Biden's final tally was 81,283,501 popular votes to Spanky's 74 million. And then on the right side, you can see the electoral college map. I think it was 306. Hang on. Yeah, it was 306 electoral votes to Spanky's 232. Okay, so we'll continue with the celebration that was happening in the streets all over the place. The entire world rejoiced, at home, at work, in the streets, and everywhere, while Spanky and his seditious sore losers insisted the election was stolen. Spanky could not accept defeat. There are some of those sore losers right here with us in the audience insisting that shit was stolen, man. It was stolen. It was stolen. You know, for all the mocking they did of us, you know, showing us that picture of the woman screaming, no, and saying, that's you. They sure are doing a great impersonation of that same woman who was screaming in agony because she had lost. Now, that woman, you know, forever, unfortunately, captured in time. You know who she is. She's wearing like the neon green jacket and she's got glasses. Yeah, it's unfortunate, you know, because I'm sure she's moved on with her life. While 4 years later, these clowns are still screaming that the election was stolen. So, so that the graphic on this page here was inspired by this picture. As you can see, the picture on the right there. And the difference is I have Spanky on one of the big screens. This is in Times Square, and the American flag on another big screen. And it says 2020 election, and everybody's wearing masks because we still were walking around in a pandemic at the time. The next page. Spanky sent Rudely Fuliani, Sickly Growl, and Jenna Fartcushion to challenge the election results in 60 different court cases. You might be wondering who Sickly Growl is. That was Sidney Powell. To challenge the election results in 60 different court cases. All were thrown out, even the ones where Spanky anointed the judges. But Spanky still refused to admit he lost. Spanky was the bigliest sore loser. Now, you see there's a little green cloud around Rudy Giuliani, and that's because he did COVID fart directly on Jenna Ellis. And then things got really serious. Spanky's seditious sore losers started making plans to present fake electors in an attempt to steal the election. He tried to tell his VP not to certify the results, but Spike Tents ignored him. Spanky even tried to force the Georgia Secretary of State, Grad Laffensberger, to find 11,780 votes because it was, quote, one more than I have. Spanky told his angry supporters to go to Washington, D.C. on January 6th. We'll be wild, he said. Spanky was cuckoo. I just need 11,780 votes, which is one more than I have. And you can see there in the picture, there's a woman holding a phone. She's reading the tweet. Big party in DC on January 6th. Be there. Will be wild. And this is all real. This stuff did actually happen. And on January 6th, Spanky's angry supporters showed up. Some had t-shirts that said Civil War. Some had zip ties and bear spray. Some even had guns. But Spanky wasn't concerned because they weren't angry at him. He told them to march to the Capitol and said they had to fight. Spanky incited an insurrection. Now, you'll have some people arguing this point saying, "Oh, he wasn't convicted of insurrection." No, not yet. That's because his lawyers have been busy, delaying everything. I'm of the opinion if you want to clear your name, you don't postpone these things. You want to get them clear. And he had every opportunity to let these things go. Hey, let's get this, let's clear my name. Let's clear my good name. He wasn't interested in that because there was no way he could clear his name. There's a mountain of evidence against him. His only hope was to delay long enough to possibly win the election and then throw all those cases away. Well, the ones that he can throw away. I don't think he can do anything with the New York State case. State case. He can't be pardoned. And so what's interesting about this page here, if you look in the lower left, there's a guy with a black and white checkered shirt and a yellow hat and glasses and a beard. So back then, people thought that dude was me. This guy here, this guy with the black hat and the glasses and the black and white shirt, they were like, isn't that Brooklyn Dad? And it was literally like a 3-day period where I had to defend myself saying, look, I wasn't stupid enough to be at that damn insane rally. I was in the safety of my own home watching this aghast with everybody else. So yeah, the art on this page was actually inspired by a real image there. So so that's all I have for you guys today, guys. Any questions? Nurse Mitch says, I can't wait. I can't wait for the day when I don't have to hear. I'm sorry, I'm reading your comment in his voice, in his exhausting voice. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. The beard is similar, but he's clearly not the same guy. Thank you, Mike. Ness from Connecticut says, wow, I never knew they were trying to blame you, BDD. Yeah, it was insane. Like, why would, because at the time people kind of knew I was Brooklyn Dad. Why would a MAGA follow me? It's crazy. They would have said, he's a Fed. This one here. Please vote now for Harris Wall. It says, I have to admit, I did not have a 12-minute Trump worship of Arnold Trump's penis, Arnold Palmer's penis, on my bingo card. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. It's insane. The stuff that we're seeing is why I did this book in the first place. I thought, what is the best way to capture the absurdity of it? And originally it was for The Littlest President, right? How can I best capture how absurd these times are? Huh? Let's put it into a children's book, because children's books often have like monsters and things that aren't real and talking, talking animals and things like that. So it's kind of funny to put it, in that vessel, right? In that medium, but also to have like actual events there. The juxtaposition of having factual things in a children's book format, I thought was funny. So, Meredith Powell, I have no idea what the movie is tonight. I believe there is an M. Night Shyamalan piece that's out. Oh wait, it's this thing with the guy from it's Trap. That's what I want to see. It's a movie called Trap, and the guy from is it the guy from Training Day in that? Anyway, the main character is a serial killer, apparently, and he's taken his daughter to a show at a stadium, but that whole show is a setup to capture him. So I've read some good things, some good reviews about it, so I'm looking forward to it. Nothing looks like you, BDD. Oh, thank you, Bernadette. You're so kind. Thank you so much. And some of these comments are really ridiculous. I'm not even gonna honor it with a comment. I'm not gonna show it on the screen. Honestly, I think if you're asking dumbass questions about about Kamala subverting democracy, you're a dumbass, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. Thank you, Cindy, as well. Thank you for that. Mike. Mike's Organic Videos says, I do recall that some folks on TYT were besmirking you. I think you mean besmirching a couple of years ago. When I realized they were phonies, I stopped watching their videos, only the sports one. That's funny because I did meet one of those guys, the main guy. What's his name? Can't remember his name, but I met him at the DNC. I did indeed. Yeah, see somebody saying BDD equals FBI. I wish I was the. Sometimes I do wish I was the FBI. Honestly, I do. Sometimes, like when people are acting stupid and sending threats to me. Yeah, I would just use my resources to like fucking hunt you down and make sure that you didn't do it again. This won't be over until Madam President takes her oath. So let me just say that in my new book, The Bigliest Loser, I do predict Kamala Harris winning the election by a lot. I do predict that. And yeah, I know it's a bold prediction to make, because then if she doesn't, it's like, oops, but who cares? It's my book. I'm going to end it how I want it to be ended. And then it's directly followed. Her victory is followed by another attempt to quote unquote stop the steal, where he's going to go around with his lawyers. There are already, according to Lara Trump, there are lawsuits in 81 states. I don't know where she got the other 31 states, but she said there are lawsuits in 81 states. Maybe what she meant to say was there are 81 lawsuits in all 50 states, whatever the case may be. How are there already lawsuits? What is this all about? What they are trying to do is create an atmosphere of mistrust, right? They're trying to, and that's what happened. I don't know if you guys heard about this in Virginia today. A federal judge said that 1,600 voters were purged from the rolls because they were being accused of being non-citizens, right? So that judge said that they had to be reinstated uh, because there's a rule, there's like a voter registration rule that says you can't do that within 90 days of an election. If they wanted to do that, they had to do it sooner. So because by doing that, they are potentially disenfranchising a lot of voters who are legit citizens. Again, but this is all to create uh, to create a perception of illegality where there is none. But as long as they keep shouting voter fraud, voter fraud, voter fraud, and they keep shouting it, they think that it's going to stick. Like when Donald Trump repeats a lie over and over and over, his intention is to say it enough times where people actually believe it, even though it's bullshit. So I believe that is not how the law works. The law does not work like that. If no matter how many times you you repeat some bullshit, the law is not going to be like, oh, actually, come to think of it, now that you've said it 75 times, now it seems true. Look at this. Cindy. Excuse me. Cindy says BDD FBI equals fabulous Brooklyn influencer. Uh-huh. 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 I like it. I like it. Oh, good point here. Kristen is making some excellent points here tonight. Says judge shopping helps. Indeed. Republicans don't want people to vote. This is an evergreen statement. Evergreen. And I say this all the time. I say if they would just come up with ideas and initiatives that the American public can get behind, they wouldn't have to resort to all this what's the word? All these shenanigans, all these dirty tricks. Just straight up legislate, folks. There's a video that's out there where Chip Roy and Ken what the hell is his last name? Ken something or other, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, a whole lot of Republicans are complaining that they have nothing to show. They have nothing to show for all of their time in the past 2 years. They passed nothing. And that's why they want fewer people participating in the process, because all they care about is not legislating for you and I. They care about staying in power. They stay in power, then that means their people are coming to knock on their door and say, hey, can I bribe you? Not that blatantly, but hey, let me take you out to an expensive lunch and convince you a lobbyist. They get a lot of attention from lobbyists and shit like that. They like those things. That power, is intoxicating. That's some people who are in Congress. I believe that there is a legitimate number of people. There are people who want to legitimately serve us and want to improve our lives. That's why they joined. And I'm going to say Republicans too. Not all Republicans are evil. We have to get back to a point where we are not, branding our neighbors and our coworkers and the people across the street from us and the people, fellow Americans as evil. Right now, unfortunately, the rhetoric is the rhetoric is like that. It is definitely uh, charged in a very highly partisan, toxic way because that's just that's just how it is. You know, we have been subjected to some, a major presidential candidate accusing uh, ac- accusing fellow Americans of being the enemy from within. We've gotten to a place where that same presidential candidate is saying that he would potentially use the National Guard and and the military on you American citizens. So this is what has put us in a defensive stance and saying, motherfucker, nope, nope. But ultimately, the day after, once Trump and Trumpism is defeated, then we have to get back to a point where we can begin to coexist, with those people that we've lost. Maybe, some of these relationships are not going to be regained. People, friends, and family that you lost over the years because of politics, because of Trumpism, you might get some of them back because, as I've been seeing over the past couple of months, there's a good number of Republicans who said, I voted for him in 2016 and 2020, and no, he's too extreme. I can't do it anymore. It's hard to maintain this level of anxiety, of intensity. It's difficult. Nobody wants this shit to go on another 4 years. I'm ready to turn the page, as the Kamala Harris campaign says. This is a nice one here from Integrity. Kamala Harris is for all Americans, no matter what party you are with, because it is country before party we are voting for. Trump has no plans for Americans. She's even said it dawns on me. Kamala Harris has even said that she would have Republicans in her administration, in her cabinet. Now, likely that is rankling some on the left, in the progressives, because we're still kind of like, I don't know if I can trust you. But like I said, we have to get back there at some point. Now is not the time. Now is not the time for kumbaya. Now is the time for put that foot in that ass. And, now is the time to motivate and get everyone you can to vote. It's that simple. Everyone get them to vote. Because it's all about turnout. It's not about polls. Fuck polls. Polls are bullshit. They're meaningless. They're meaningless. If you guys watch zombie movies and apocalyptic movies where like the world as we know it is gone and everything is like a lawless landscape, in that scenario, in a zombie apocalypse, money is meaningless. It's meaningless. $1,000, that is meaningless. Now food and antibiotics and weapons, that's your real that is your real meaningful collateral. So right now, polls are as useless now as money is in the zombie apocalypse. Why am I talking about the zombie apocalypse? I always talk about that. Stephanie L, thank you for this. She says her husband only voted blue because she asked him to. He voted all blue. Way to go. Way to go. Don't assume because you know somebody and you know them to be a responsible person. Don't just assume that they are going to vote and that they are going to vote blue. Talk to them. Talk to the people that you just normally would assume that they're going to do the right thing. don't take anything for granted. We need every freaking vote. Everyone. If you're in a red state, if you're in a blue state, why does it matter? Because you still have those down ballot races. We need to flip the House. We need to make sure Hakeem Jeffries is our next Speaker of the House, because Mike Johnson is as useless as money in the zombie apocalypse. Mike Johnson is useless. Useless. And the Senate. We have to keep the Senate. And we can't do that if we are losing votes because people think I'm in a red state, it doesn't matter. I'm in a blue state, it doesn't matter. Every freaking state matters. Montana matters. Go re-elect John Tester. If you're in Montana, get everybody you know to vote blue for John Tester, for crying out loud. Okay, you guys. Well, you know what time it is. It is Friday night, and that means I am about 25 minutes behind getting my pizza and movie night started. So thank you for joining me once again for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. And so, folks, remember this coming Tuesday, there is going to be there's going to be another episode of Heroes for Democracy. So be sure to tune in then. That's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time. Going till 10 p.m. We're going to have some great guests. I guarantee it. And then I'll see you guys here next Friday, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.